I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there.
You're done. This is a no.
This is a no on this legislation. I have tried everything I know to do.
Senator Joe Manchin delivering a likely death blow to the Build Back Better plan. The West Virginia moderate, a key Democrat vote needed to pass the bill, is saying today he won't vote for the plan.
I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there.
You're done. This is a no.
This is a no on this legislation. I have tried everything I know to do.
So the White House says it was caught off guard by Senator Manchin's announcement this morning, believing they still had a path forward. Senior Washington correspondent Joe Johns joining us now at the White House. And Joe, the White House press secretary put out a very pointed statement.
To say the least, and the reaction here at the White House, people are just shaking their heads. There's also a real sense that while the president knew these negotiations were not going well, I think part of it is the timing, and part of it is what they say Joe Manchin had been saying to them before he finally decided to pull the plug. Listen to the statement that they put out just a little while ago. Senator Manchin's comments this morning are at odds with his discussions this week with the White House staff and with his own public utterances. Weeks ago, the senator committed to the president at his home in Wilmington to support the Build Back Better framework that the president announced. And Senator Manchin pledged repeatedly to negotiate on finalizing that framework in good faith. It goes on. On Tuesday of this week, Senator Manchin came to the White House and admitted to the president in person a written outline for a BBB bill that essentially was the same size and scope as the president's and covered some of the same things. So clearly the people here at the White House thought that the president and Joe Manchin had something else to negotiate, but now it's all gone away. Amber?
Wow, yeah. So as if this wasn't one major blow to deal with for the White House, now we're talking about the Omicron variant and how cases are surging in this country. President Biden set to address the nation on Tuesday. What do we expect to hear from him?
Well, a bunch of things. Number one, as you said, is going to be about Omicron. Number two, it's pretty clear that what they're doing is trying to announce some new steps to help people get through the winter. He wants to talk about his winter COVID plan in general, but maybe one of the big headlines is that the president wants to give a stark warning to Americans out there who remain intentionally unvaccinated. So this is all part of changing the message to fit the moment, which is very serious in this country right now.
Did fellow Democrats see this coming? I mean, this came after months of negotiations.
Emma, it was days, it was weeks, it was months. Several congressional aides who I spoke with said it was like a bomb going off, essentially blowing up and killing any possibility of pushing forward the most significant legislative pieces of the Democratic Party as well as the administration. We're talking about education, health care, and climate change. The Democratic leadership got about 40 minutes heads up before Manchin went public on television this morning to basically say he was out of it. He was done with the negotiating process, and this was very frustrating. Emma, it came after a week of very tense behind-the-scene negotiation, not only with the president, but also with the moderates, the progressives. There were times we saw this spill out on the Senate floor as there were animated discussions with Manchin. Oftentimes he was surrounded by his colleagues as they tried to convince him to get on board here. They desperately needed him for that reconciliation vote, the budget reconciliation, which required just a simple majority, and he was part of it. So he was the last holdout. The progressives are feeling devastated and frustrated here. They started off with a $6 trillion cost to this bill. They lowered it to $3 trillion and then to $1.75 trillion. Manchin had insisted all along it was going to be $1.5 trillion. He could not move really much beyond that. And most recently, he talked about the tax credit, the child tax credit being extended for 1 year. That was part of the bill, but he said realistically, it would be extended for 10 years. It would cost much, much more money, that the Congressional Budget Office would determine, in fact, that this would really add to the federal deficit here, so that it wasn't really an honest cost bill. It had to stay at that number. His colleague said, well, show us where else you need to cut down here. And he never did. He was too vague. So now what you're hearing this morning, Senator Bernie Sanders, Ayanna Pressley, many of the progressives, and even some of the moderates saying they don't believe that Senator Manchin acted in good faith.
We cannot allow one lone senator from West Virginia to obstruct the president's agenda, to obstruct the people's agenda. Jake, all I want for Christmas is a senator that has compassion for the American people and not contempt.
I hope that we will bring a strong bill to the floor of the Senate as soon as we can and let Mr. Manchin explain to the people of West Virginia why he doesn't have the guts to stand up to powerful special interests. If he doesn't have the courage to do the right thing for the working families of West Virginia and America, let him vote no in front of the whole world.
Emma, the Republicans, of course, are celebrating right now. They have never been on board with this huge package, this social spending package, climate change package. Senator Lindsey Graham saying that the CBO the CBO analysis confirms Senator Manchin's worst fears about Build Back Better. He has always stated that he will not support a bill full of gimmicks, a bill that added to the debt, or a bill that made inflation worse. I think the question moving forward here is, in the new year, can the Democrats put forward something perhaps separate, piecemeal, from a big legislative agenda, a big legislative accomplishment that might address some of the concerns of the American people who are truly suffering?
Well, I think he's going to have a lot of explaining to do to the people of West Virginia, to tell them why he doesn't have the guts to take on the drug companies and lower the cost of prescription drugs, why he is not prepared to expand home health care. West Virginia is one of the poorest states in this country. You got elderly people and disabled people who would like to stay at home or forced into nursing homes. He's going to have to tell the people of West Virginia why he doesn't want to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and eyeglasses. I've been to West Virginia a number of times, and it's a great state, beautiful people. But it is a state that is struggling. And he's going to have to tell the people of West Virginia why he's rejecting what the scientists of the world are telling us, that we have to act boldly and transform our energy system to protect future generations from the devastation of climate change. You know, what's going on now, Jake, in Washington is the big money interests are pouring hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to make sure that we continue to pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, that the rich do not start paying their fair share of taxes. And I would have hoped that we could have had at least 50 Democrats on board who have the guts to stand up for working families and take on the lobbyists and the powerful special interest. We have no Republican support. Not one Republican in the United States Senate or the House, for that matter, is prepared to stand up to the drug companies or the insurance companies or the wealthy. I would hope we would have had 50 Democrats. But if that is the case, then I hope that we will bring a strong bill to the floor of the Senate as soon as we can and let Mr. Manchin explain to the people of West Virginia why he doesn't have the guts to stand up to powerful special interests.
Oh, so you want to vote on it no matter what, even if...
Absolutely. Absolutely. The American people have got to understand what is at stake. For decades now, what Congress has been doing, giving tax breaks to the rich, not standing up to the drug companies, so that we end up paying the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, ignoring climate change. The President of the United States and almost every Democrat is trying finally to address these issues.
Did you know this was coming?
Mr. Manchin doesn't want to support us. Well, look, we've been dealing with Mr. Manchin for month after month after month. But if he doesn't have the courage to do the right thing for the working families of West Virginia and America, let him vote no in front of the whole world.